1980 or 81, I'll be done. And I will have had 10 or 12 of the most exciting years that any singer could ever dream of. All the things that I ever dreamed of happened. I made the choice. Possibly I could have gone on singing till I was 55, had I nurtured it and took care of it. I didn't. I wanted those devereaux. And I will give up 5 years of my life for 50 devereaux any day of the year. It's a personal choice. You have to make that. You want to be a gorgeous singer.
I hope the opera workshop can bring home to the young singer the practical problems of having an operatic career. There was a song, I think, of Pinocchio that was "Hi diddly-dee, an actor's life for me. You lunch on chicken and caviar and tour the world in a private car." Unfortunately, that's really not quite so. It's a highly disciplined life, requiring a great many sacrifices of time, pleasures, fun. And if we can bring this home to them, they'll have a clearer picture of what's in front of them. And it might help them make a decision in their lives that at this particular moment they're at a crossroads.
A late bloomer. And consequently, I felt the sky's the limit now. I'm going for it all. And when that Cleopatra came, there was nobody that could stop me. Nobody. I knew it. I don't say that I knew La Scala would be on their knees. But when I finished the first aria, there was a roar, and I thought to myself, I'm going to have it all. And from that moment on, I did. I had everything. And I have everything still, thank God. But I took chances. It's a choice. You got to make it.
The most incredible thing about the San Diego Opera Workshop is that it's got Tito Capobianco. He's such a lure for all kinds of talent. Plus the opportunity to have classes with a man like this. It's invaluable and was non-existent in my time. The whole point of a Lee Strasberg coming to an opera workshop like this is that the public today is much more demanding and discerning than it used to be. They will no longer take the chubby man and the chubby lady walking to the footlights, spreading out the arms and just belting out an aria. They want the drama, they want people who look the roles they're playing. The whole approach to opera has changed, even in the last 15 years. People in the profession, going into the opera world, realize they have to act. They have to. The public will not respond. The way opera used to be done 20 years ago is not acceptable today.
Emotion and experience that she was going through.
I have no margin for error now. So much more is expected of me now than it used to be. That's why to do your first Roberto Devereux, Gigi and I worked 7 months. Just 7 months on gestures.
It could only be a Capobianco that could lure Strasberg or Alice Albanese to come and talk to young people. I mean, here is the original choice for Traviata and so many operas of Arturo Toscanini, for instance. The actual numbers of performances spent on stage. I think it's not only great fun, but it's a privilege to meet a lady like that. It puts young people into a very real communication with somebody whose career was like a fairy tale. If you read about some of the careers that have happened in opera, and yet you meet a woman like this and you suddenly realize again the amount of labor that went into that career. It wasn't all drinking champagne out of the slipper after the performances. First you got to do the performance, then you can take your shoes off.
And project out.
Tito was invaluable to young people like this, giving them an idea of what the character is all about, delving into the very depths. Correcting an arm gesture can completely influence, particularly in opera where one is singing of passion rather than talking of it.
To dig in more in the interpretation. Had to be better and better and better.
Very little can be gained by us singing for one another, past my telling you that you have to put a stronger sound on a double D or a double T, which is valuable, but I think, since our meeting is so limited and short, that there must be something more that I can contribute, I would hope.
I'm not a teacher, and I don't ever intend to teach. I think teaching is a very separate talent, and I don't possess it. I just feel that if there are some areas that might be troubling a young artist, having been in the business for so long, having earned my living as a singer for the major part of my life, that I might be able to assist them in some way. Again, it's because my career has a kind of fairy tale quality about it. The late bloomer, the girl from Brooklyn making good, probably the highest paid classical singer in the world. All that's terribly glamorous. And getting to talk with me might pull it back into the proper perspective as to why it all happened and how it all happened.
You know, I'm a very good musician. I can learn an opera in 2 days, and I have. I learned The Love for Three Kings in 4.5 days and performed it 6 days after I saw the score for the first time. So I am a crackerjack musician. I take great pride in that. And in the early days, that's the reputation I had. You want to have a contemporary work learned quickly? Get her, she'll do it. And that's how I made my living. By doing, if I showed you my library at home, the world premieres of stuff that got one performance and were never heard of again, you wouldn't believe it. But I had that reputation. This feeling that in a sense, that when I began to use music as an escape from my personal life, which is really what happened to me, is when I think I conveyed to the public that I couldn't wait to walk in that theater and leave everything else outside and just pretend to be somebody else for a few hours. It was a great relief for me and took away a lot of the problems in my personal life. And I think that was conveyed. I think that's what you must do. You must bring into the theater a kind of elation, a kind of excitement. My mother always says that there are two kinds of performers. One walks on stage and needs a spotlight for you to locate him. The other brings it on himself. It's an intensity.
An actual physical attention in the person that is being directed.
The energy. You
words,
can't take your eyes off it.
Deliberate thing.
Yes, it's
On the
deliberate.
part of this individual. He
Yes.
knows he's doing it.
Absolutely. It's sheer concentration. It screams, look at what I'm doing. It does. You can do it. Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. You can do it with your back to the audience. You can. It's what Maria Callas had. You can stay absolutely still.
Well,
Look.
I'm a good actor. I really don't have to work that hard.
I have never said that I could accept a performance of opera that was beautifully acted, any more than I have ever said that I could accept a performance of opera that was beautifully sung. One bored me to death and the other had me in agony. There has to be a combination. What I'm saying is that because you have a beautiful voice doesn't mean that you cannot be a beautiful actor as well.
How do you work those two? When we're all, because we've milled this over in our other class, how do you work the two together, being a good actor and a good singer at the same time?
Why does one preclude the other?
No, I'm not saying it does.
Yeah.
No, how do you work both of them together?
The way you work on your voice, that's the way you work on your acting ability. Lock yourself in a room.
There's this question.
I went into the woods and screamed once to find out, just to get the proper, just ache that I wanted. I did that in Milton, Massachusetts, and all the dogs came running. It was the funniest thing that ever happened. But I couldn't get any privacy in my home. I had, I have lots of children, and I had maids, and I couldn't get the ache that I wanted. I won't even tell you what opera it was, but I had taken a word, and instead of singing it, I decided to scream it. And I couldn't get the sound in my ear where I wanted to pitch it. You have to. How do you do your singing? If you have a passage that you're constantly missing a sweep on let's say a high A, how do you fix it? I like to get into a room where nobody can hear me, get with a piano, and keep working on it until I find the way to get it. Well, if you feel awkward doing a part, you have to lock yourself in a room and find yourself. You really do. If you feel you look awkward because you're fat, then lose weight. If you feel your hair is not the way you want it, then fix it. You have to be an individual, otherwise you're going to make a mediocre career. I always like to tell the story that in the season I did Manon and Queen Elizabeth, Manon was 16 and Queen Elizabeth's in her 60s, that it used to take me 2 hours to become Queen Elizabeth and 20 minutes to become Manon, and now it takes me 2 hours to become Manon and 20 minutes to become Queen Elizabeth. But it's interesting, when I used to do Manon, and Gigi wasn't around to do my makeup, I would clunk on 2 eyelashes and red lipstick, and I was done for Manon. And the other day, she went back to San Diego after the first couple of performances, and I was left to do this face. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, that's not Manon anymore. And I painted on a face. I painted somebody else's face. I looked in the mirror and I got so disgusted with myself that I washed the whole thing off, plunked the 2 eyelashes on, and went back to the lipstick. All the while knowing I was making a terrible mistake. But I think you have to know what you look like on stage and hold to that image when you do the audition. That's the first thing. Keep your own person. Don't become what you think the auditioner wants you to become. You'll lose everything, including the sound of your voice. I have found over the years that the most important thing to be is an individual. I do not make any concessions to a performance. I do exactly what I normally do. I go to Bloomingdale's, I make breakfast, I do everything I'm supposed to do. Talk on the phone constantly. And now, I didn't used to, but now as my voice is older, and I'm older, I vocalize 15, 20 minutes. I hum a lot just to get it up in my head.
Now.
Yes.
Okay, let's see it.
This is not a one-shot thing. This is a career. You know, when I think of the labor in Elizabeth, when I think of what I put into those 3 queens, my God, what I put into them. And they were very successful. I'm not saying that everybody walked out and appreciated or understood everything I had done. They didn't. That's unrealistic. But by God, after the second act curtain went down, they were on their feet cheering. Not at the end of the second act, which is not bad. That's not bad. When you get an audience moving like that, you can feel it.
I think a voice is like a diamond. I don't think you can create one. You have to be born with it. But the diamond must be put in the proper setting in order to be shown off. So I feel the voice is indeed a gift from God. And then it takes very talented people to polish it and display it properly.